Okay, well, I had a little technical issue in the middle of chapter 9, so I'm going to finish that chapter now. I'm going to start back with the part when Alfred Anglin tried to escape and was electrocuted on a security fence and died. The Anglin family smelled something fishy. Why would Alfred try to escape after all this time, when his parole was right around the corner? It didn't make sense. They didn't believe he had tried to escape. Rather, prison officials had heard him talking about Clarence and J.W., and they tried to get him to tell them what he knew. When he wouldn't talk, they beat him to death. Then they threw his body on the electric fence and made it look like a failed escape attempt. Ken and David Widener called up Art Roderick, the one U.S. Marshal investigator who had managed to gain their trust. "We feel like we found the right person we can trust in Art and felt comfortable enough to share it," Ken Widener said. Roderick met Ken and David in Ruskin, Florida. The Widener men showed Roderick the Christmas cards the family had received, but these didn't interest Roderick much. They could very easily be fakes. Then they showed him Brizzy's photo, and that got Roderick's attention. Roderick had investigated this case for decades. He was eager to get it solved, so he asked the brothers if he could take the photo and have it analyzed. But Ken and David would not give it the photo, not without a favor. They wanted to have Alfred Anglin's body exhumed from its grave and examined. Did it have signs of physical trauma, as if he'd been beaten? Roderick wanted the photo, so he agreed to the deal. Alfred's body was pulled from the ground and examined. It did not show any signs of physical abuse. While they had the body, they took the opportunity to solve another mystery. Back in 1962, around the night the men escaped, a body had been recovered from the bay. Some had speculated that it might have been one of the escapees, but there was no proof. Investigators ran DNA testing on the body from the bay and on the body of Alfred Anglin to see if there was a match. But the drowning victim did not have any Anglin DNA. They also tested a member of Frank Morris's family. There was no match there either. The dead man found in the sea was not Clarence or John Anglin or Frank Morris. Meanwhile, Roderick had the photo from Fred Brizzy tested. A forensic artist found 8 different points on each face that matched the brothers' mugshots. He declared that the photo was highly likely to be the Anglin brothers. Still, Roderick was not totally convinced. "It's a lead," he said, "but I would like some more pieces of evidence." He added, "I'm still holding to my original opinion that until we have 100% confirmation they survived, that it's most likely the brothers drowned in San Francisco Bay. Forensic artists are not like DNA or fingerprints. It's not an exact science." Nevertheless, the photograph gave Roderick hope. Though he was retired, that hope drives him to continue investigating on his own until he solves the case, just as hope drove the prisoners on the rock. Ken, David, and the rest of the Anglins also feel driven by hope. The hope that J.W. and Clarence defied the odds and survived their escape. "This is absolutely the best actionable lead we've had," Roderick said of the photo. "I truly believe we're going to close it. Until then, the mystery lives on." That's the end of chapter 9. The only thing we have left is an epilogue, which is like a little addition on to the end. It's only 2 pages. I'll read that real quick and then we'll be all done. It says, months after the escape, the U.S. Attorney General Robert Kennedy announced that the prison at Alcatraz would be closed. In a way, this was a big part of the legacy of the escape. For men such as Clarence Carnes, breaking the rock, even by someone else, was a way to get off of it. Life in Alcatraz was miserable, and the thought that one day he could get out of there was the only thing that kept Carnes and other inmates going. That hope. So where did they end up? Alan West cooperated in the investigation into the escape. He was interviewed by Alcatraz officials and twice by federal investigators. In return, he was not charged for participating in the escape. He was transferred several times to other prisons and finally released in 1967, after which he was arrested for grand larceny. He was serving a life sentence in the Florida State Prison when he died of an abdominal disease on December 21st, 1978, at 49 years old. Clarence Carnes, who was serving a life sentence on top of a 203-year sentence, was nevertheless paroled in 1973 at age 46. But he violated his parole and went back to prison, where he died in 1988. Bumpy Johnson was released in 1963 and returned to Harlem, New York, where he was a powerful and popular gangster. He died of a heart attack in 1968 at age 62. U.S. Marshal Art Roderick is retired but hopes to investigate the escape from Alcatraz. He is hopeful that the case will be solved in his lifetime. Ken and David Widener live in Florida, and they continue to wait. If their uncles survived, they would be in their mid-80s now. Starting in October 1973, Alcatraz became a tourist attraction. Each year, more than 1.3 million people ride the ferry across the bay that Morris and the Englands set out to cross so long ago. Visitors can tour the island and buildings, including the cell house. Former convicts and guards narrate the recorded tours. Rangers and other volunteers lead the guided tours. And so the last thing in the book is a picture that says, today visitors can tour Alcatraz and get an up-close view of the cells. So there's a picture of that. Okay. And so that's the end of our book. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did. It's kind of an unsolved mystery, so we don't really know the ending or how it goes. I think I tend to believe that they probably escaped, and maybe that photograph revealed that they were living in South America. I don't know. And we may never know. It's one of the great mysteries of the United States. So I hope you enjoyed, and we will start a new book next week. Thanks. I miss you guys. See you soon.